Dave,
Ian,
and Steve. We brought another guest on today. How's it going, Steve?
Going great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So with us is Steve Wilchek from Denver, Littleton?
Yeah, Littleton, Denver, Southwest area, basically.
Okay. So Steve came into our
sphere of knowledge.
A couple months ago during the big snowstorms around Christmas and the big Southwest meltdown. And this absolute hero is the guy who bought a car in Philadelphia off of Craigslist for $500 and then cannonballed it all the way back to Colorado because Southwest wouldn't fly in there. So Steve, I have many questions.
Yeah.
But just walk us through like how you found out the flight was canceled and like the headspace you were in and like what, like everything up until logging on to Craigslist.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was, I want to say the night after Christmas or then maybe 2 nights after that. The time has been a little bit since then, but basically we had, I originally grew up in the Philadelphia area. So what we were doing is my wife and I went home to visit my family, and we wanted to meet up with some of my hometown friends. So we had them over for a little, meet and greet, had some dinner, some snacks, and everybody left around 10:30 or 11 p.m. that night. We're Southwest, and my wife is type A. So of course she's like, eager to check in to get the earliest seating we can. And I'm thankful that she is, because I always get crappy seats without her. So she's going through the motions. She sees an email from Southwest, and it's actually a pretty generic email. It's like, due to weather circumstances, your flight may have experienced delays, so please check on the status of your flight. And so she checks on the status, and the status is canceled. And she's like, what the hell? Like, why didn't they even give us an update on the status of the flight? So she goes and verifies, is it really canceled? Is it really canceled? Is this like just a fluke? But no, it was canceled. And so immediately I'm just like, go to sleep. We'll figure it out in the morning, because I know she's not going to be able to fall asleep. She's looking on, Kayak and all sorts of things to see if there's cheaper flights. But by that point, the trickle down had already really kicked in, and flights were at like $2,000 to $3,000 a seat. Mm-hmm. And that's like multi-leg flights. Yeah. So we're scraping the bottom of the barrel to find an expensive flight to get back home. And I have a lot of projects going on in my life. I'm like, we're not spending $2,000 or $3,000 on flights that were originally $200 to get home. So we'll either spend a few more days here, or we'll check tomorrow morning to see if we can get like a Greyhound bus or something. So she eventually goes to sleep. We eventually go to sleep, and she's up at like 4 a.m. checking flights again, and they're up to like $3,000 to $4,000 now, because I guess some people had actually bought those flights. And at that point, I'm looking on Greyhound. I'm looking on basically any type of transportation service that can get us back there. I used to do the skip lag flight thing where, you have a multi-leg flight and you fly, to the middle connection and you jump off. And I'm like, maybe this will work, but nope, that didn't work either. So we're just about out of options. She works at a hospital. She works in St. Anthony's Hospital right there in Littleton, or Lakewood rather. So she's pretty passionate about getting in and being there to be able to take care of her patients. And at that point, I'm like, all right, well, let's see what we can do to get back. And she had been like looking at Instagram or something and saw that our friends out here, I guess their parents had rented a rental car in Pittsburgh. They drove from like Virginia to Pittsburgh, and they were like, all right, well, it looks like you have no options to get back, because they were affected by Southwest as well. So here's our buddies doing the Instagram thing. Hey, we're driving a rental car back to Denver. And I'm thinking, that's not a bad idea. So we start to look into rental cars, and there's just simply nothing there. I call around to a few rental agencies, and they're like, oh, sorry, those are the rates online. We don't actually have any cars left.
I had that exact thing happen. So I was in Chicago, and we had flown to Chicago, and we were going to take an Amtrak from Chicago to Michigan to see my wife's family.
Too, actually.
Yeah, and an Amtrak, they canceled our train. So we were in the same boat where it was like, and we have 2 small kids with us, so we're like, well, what are we going to do? And the same thing, like flights were like, it was to go from like Chicago to Detroit was like $1,500 a seat, which is just insane.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So we ended up, we got like the last rental car in the city sort of thing. It was crazy.
We just about got the last rental car in Philadelphia. My dad, he has the exact same name as me. So he's like, I rented this car for you. Like, there's no payment until you get there, but it's like $600 a day.
Yeah.
So right there, I'm like, all right, it's going to take 2 days. That's $1,200. That's $1,200. What can I do with $1,200? I'm a car guy. I like buying, junk cars and seeing what I can do with them, whether it's fixing them up and selling them or fixing them up and crashing them. I've always been into like just reckless abandonment with cars. So I look on Craigslist in the Philadelphia section, and I set my criteria $1,000 and like basically 40 miles around my hometown. And the first thing I found was, I'll put the ad up behind me real quick if that works for you.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is what I had found. So it's a $1,000 Subaru Legacy. Hopefully that shows up the right way for you. But it was like too good. It was, this old Subaru that wasn't really that old. I have a 2002 Impreza. And so
that's looking pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at all the pictures of it, and I'm like, man, the rust in the wheel wells isn't too bad for a East Coast car. Yeah. I normally die a quick death with rust, and it still runs. So the guy didn't say it didn't run. So I figure I'll shoot this guy a message and see if he'll take $700 because I have to negotiate, of course. It's a Craigslist deal.
Yeah.
And he gets back to me pretty quick that day. This was literally like the day after we found out our flight was canceled. So everything happened pretty fast at this point, because it was either pull off this moonshot or rent that $1,200 car.
Yeah.
So, I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I talked to some of my car buddies and they said this is a good idea. Like, hey guys,
we're not going to skip over that.
Yeah, no, that's a key point. You're spreading blame. It's like blame butter on the toast, right? Like, yeah, that's so great. That's so great. Uh-huh.
It was really the small catalyst I needed to make what could be a bad decision, but it would be ultimately a great story.
So. Well, worst case scenario, like if it blew up, you could be like, frickin' Brian, this was his idea.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So I that was going to be one of my questions, because, I feel like speaking the language of cheap car ads on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or wherever your preferred shady sort of exchange places online, like, reading those ads and being able to parse them is like, it's a definite skill. Did you consider any other cars, or did you know you hit gold with this one? Or
it was a Subaru, so immediately there was a few green lights to me. I'm like, resale value is going to definitely be better running or not back in Colorado. So
for sure.
That's a good thing.
You are the transport fee at that point, right?
Exactly. I could part it out. Something like that. There was like an old, probably either a Silverado or a GMC pickup truck. And I'm like, that would be kind of cool. But I mean, mechanically, there's a lot more that could probably be wrong with that truck if it was actually used as a pickup truck. Right. I think the other one was like a van of some sort. And I'm just like, I can't see myself driving that back.
Well, so the Philly Craigslist, like, versus kind of like what you normally see on Colorado Craigslist, because I think we have one of the best Craigslists in the country. Like, you see wild stuff. Like, did you see anything crazy, or was it like just more like cut and dry East Coast, get to the point?
I think East Coast suffers the attrition of rust.
Yeah.
I mean, out here and in the Southwest, even more so like Arizona, New Mexico, you really have cool cars because they don't die a quick death of rust.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is such a brilliant idea because one, you get the resale bump going to Colorado because Subarus in Colorado are like gold, right? But it's also like just old enough to be interesting and kind of like cool and quirky, but not so like interesting that you're going to get stranded in Nebraska with it. Like that's a good line to walk. Were you at all tempted to do like, well, let's get something crazy? Like how do you go?
One time, I actually made a return trip in February, and I'm like, well, this time I'm gonna buy like a commercial Sprinter van or something because I could sell that in like Golden, where there's the RV converters galore.
Yeah.
So I like that you're starting your own car smuggling ring. Like,
I mean, that's what I was going to ask too. Cause like, I've thought about this a bunch of times. Like you could, like I go back and forth to Oklahoma sometimes, like buying a Subaru in Oklahoma, just buy a one-way plane ticket, buy a Subaru and sell it back here. It seems like a solid business idea until it isn't, until like something goes wrong and then it'd be really bad. Have you thought about doing this like as a regular thing now?
The only term for it, I don't think it exists yet, but the idea of taking a car from a market where it's not desirable, maybe in a utilitarian fashion, to a market like ours where, the camper RV or the Subaru wagon is desirable, arbitrage.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. I mean, you could almost do that like with like 2-wheel drive trucks here and just drive back and forth between to like Texas and buy 4-wheel drive cars there and bring them back,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I mean, the month after this actually, was a relative success. It was just like arbitrage ideas galore were going through my head. And then I guess, got a little bit back into life in general. So I wouldn't mind doing it. It sounds like a fun idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as like I'm going to go there anyway. I'll just buy a one-way ticket instead. Like,
yeah, exactly. I love the high you get with a used car and you don't know what's wrong with it, but it actually runs.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's dig into that. So what were the things that you were most worried about? Obviously you have experience with Subaru, so I'm assuming you just had a suitcase full of head gaskets with you. Did you were you like, ooh, I don't know about this tire? Like, was there like a mismatched tire or what? Like, what was the thing that you were?
There was one tire that was mismatched. They were all like, relatively old AT tire, or I guess highway AT tires. One of them was down to maybe an 1/8 inch of tread or less. So it was kind of like, this could be a gamble. And later on, it did end up being a big gamble because we drove back into Denver during like the biggest snowstorm of the year.
Yeah. You hit the crazy snowstorm coming in. Yeah.
The engine was kind of a gamble, but I actually have a 2002 Impreza that I use for autocross. So I knew a lot about the engine once I did a quick Wikipedia lookup on what engine this model would have come with. And I've rebuilt that engine in my 2002 in my garage. So I'm pretty familiar with all the ins and outs of the EJ25 series. And so just like, all right, well, I know exactly what I'm going to listen for, when I start this thing up. And thankfully, it hadn't been started in about 3 months because it had a dead battery.
Okay.
So that was kind of like another negotiating point that drove the price from $700 down to $500.
Yeah.
And it started right up. We jumped it off my buddy Nate's BMW. And when we went, it was kind of a weird sale because my buddy Nate and a few of my other buddies are big in the BMW. I think the N54, 55 motor mod. So it was like, we show up in this like pimped out, probably 400 wheel horsepower BMW to buy a car for $500. It's like, all right, I just have to be humble and, I need this car for transportation reasons.
It's a little different talking somebody down when you roll up in something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
We jumped it. It started right up, and as soon as it started, it sounded very smooth. Like, there was still oil in all the oil away galleys that it should have been in. Like, it wasn't a dry motor, so I was like, man, this thing's gonna make it.
Nice.
That's all it took, basically.
Yeah,
nice.
That's so awesome. Like, such a lucky first Craigslist hit. I mean,
yeah.
I think for car enthusiasts, there is a point where there's like an inflection point when it comes to money, where like we may have had like hobbies in the past, but then like there is like some kind of threshold that we all cross where we're like, oh, this becomes like this amount of money becomes a car acquisition, right? Whether it's $500 cars with blown engines, mechanic specials, $3,000 used Honda Civics, like whatever that like unit is, like knowing that like you've crossed that Rubicon in your head before, right? And like seeing that was like, okay, this amount of money for the rental versus this for the Craigslist car. Yes, this is going to happen, right?
Yeah, I will happily drop $500 and see where it takes me.
Yeah, right? I mean, I don't know if you have a AAA membership or not, but I mean, that's, that and buying cars that you can get parts at just about any Napa or AutoZone at, like that's.
Yeah, besides a battery, all I bought for the car was windshield washer fluid and windshield wipers.
That's so great. That's so great. Yeah,
that's amazing. So, okay, so you go there, you buy you start out the engine, it sounds good, and then I presume you do the deal. And you drive away. Like, what were your first impressions of the car? Like, were you, was there anything that you heard like a weird noise, or were you just like, this is we're going to be in Denver in like 24 hours?
With most of my vehicles, I build 4x4 vehicles, and like the Subaru I had mentioned earlier, I do my own alignments and all that stuff. So I'm pretty familiar with steering wheel feedback and everything. And I'm like, and suspension basically. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this car drives perfect.
Nice.
I'm like, what's going on here? This is too good to be true.
Yeah.
So,
It's like that generation legacy wagon. Like, there are so many ratty ones out on the roads. Like, it's amazing that you found a well cared for one for that cheap. It's crazy.
In a great color too. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. We called it Blue Beauty on the way back.
Yeah. So how soon from the purchase to the drive back? Like, what was that period of time?
That was about, well, let's see. I did the title transfer because I wanted to make sure getting back to Colorado, I could sell it with my own title. And then I got a 30-day temp registration from PA that allows you to drive it across state line. That took maybe, an hour. And then I still had like one person in my hometown I wanted to see. So I drive this car back to them. And I'm like, hey, I got to leave at like 4:00, but I just wanted to say hi. And so we start packing from like 2 to 4, and then we head out at 6. So it was like literally 5 hours from acquisition to
hitting the road. Wow.
That's awesome. That's
okay. So cool. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't have the time to do a real inspection. It was just kind of like, listening to a piano or a violin or something, and it sounds right.
Yeah. Also, as car enthusiasts, we have like spidey sense when it comes to sounds, noises, feels, right? Like, like we've got nerve endings in these things. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't need to worry about that sound, but I do need to worry about that sound.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like the first hour, no radio whatsoever. Yeah.
Yep. Like, very carefully checking the engine temp, because that model year, the phase 2 EJ25 motors with the NA head gaskets had like an overheating issue. So
gotcha.
That was like the first kiss of death, basically. If they get overheating, or if you have pronounced oil leaking. If you have oil leaking, it's okay. Like both my 2002 had oil leaking. So like after inspection, here in Colorado, they just do the dyno inspection. That car looked like it was ready to catch on fire. There was so much smoke coming out of the hood. And so with this car, I'm like, I want to see the oil leaking because the old saying, if it's leaking oil, it's got oil.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first thing. I'm like, all right, good. Oil leaking, that's okay. I can live with that. And then temperature is holding steady. That's great.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Did you go through anything? Like, was it eating coolant or oil on the way across the country? Or
the coolant was a nice, green color. It didn't have like metal flakes in it. It wasn't white. It wasn't black. It wasn't a weird color. So I was happy with that. The overflow reservoir looked like it was the inside of a smoker's lung, but I guess, that's just what happens when you don't top it off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And, it had brakes that worked great. It had ABS, which is an improvement over my Subaru. So
nice.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So what did your wife think about the drive and the plan when you presented it to her? Were you like, hey, this is how much a rental car is going to be, but we can have a whole car for this?
She has grown to trust me with like the crazy car decisions. So she's like, you sure it's okay? And then when I go and like actually look at him, like, this car is amazing. She's like, all right. And like the final part of the logistics was making sure it was an automatic because she's not a stick driver. So
right,
if we're going to trade off somewhere throughout the United States, I wanted it to be something she could drive.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was like, okay, as long as it's an automatic, we'll do this crazy venture.
At least you just need to make it to the next big city that has a good Craigslist scene where you can buy another car.
Just buy an automatic and a stick just for every stint.
Yeah. So like as you're experiencing this car on the road, right? Like, did you find anything in the ashtray? Did you make a story of like this car's history or the owner? You were soaking in it.
The owner. And so like right away, I knew who the owner was. I knew a little bit about his backstory because it was his only car. So we drove after I gave him the money to do the title transfer so he could be there to speed it up. And he basically gave some of his backstory about being on workman's comp and not being able to drive. So this was his only car, and he was just trying to sell it so that he could like supplement his income.
Sure.
Learned a little bit about that, and I mean that kind of ties into the end of the story where he tried to get some money back, but ultimately a good guy, just fell on hard times. So
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Huh.
But like no weird cassettes in the glove box, anything like that?
No, this guy took way better care of the car than I've taken of any of my cars. I mean, he had receipts for everything. He had a good maintenance log. He had stuff to take care of it, tools, spare parts. And he actually had the spray wax and like detailing stuff that I used to clean it up when I sold it here. So yeah, I'm not the greatest log keeper on vehicles. I use them and then I sell them. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, that would be another business model. Just sell cars on consignment across the country.
Yeah.
Just split the profits with the person you buy it from.
That's
transportation.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so great. Yeah.
So I love this story, and I've been obsessed with it since it got pointed out to us by one of our listeners. Sent us a link to your interview on the news. So thank you, Jesse, for hooking this up. But so we've kind of touched on some of your car history stuff. So how did you get into cars? And it sounds like you're in both like autocross world and off-roading world. That's not usually a Venn diagram that overlaps. So how did all that happen?
Yeah, from a really young age, I think I played dirt on Colin McRae on the gaming consoles. And before I could afford or even have a driver's license, I was just like fascinated with the world of rally racing. It would turn out that I could not afford rally racing. The true sport, what I would get into is autocross. And so I've been interested in autocross and rallycross as well, because you can drive in dirt and that's kind of fun. I've done the ice racing up at Georgetown as well. All of this with my little 2002 Impreza. So it's just kind of been fun to take a value oriented car versus, building a high end specific application car.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
I've always been into motorized sports as well. So besides auto racing, I do a lot of dirt biking. That's honestly the single best way to explore our state. It's just amazing, the thousands of miles. If you have a plate on your dirt bike, you can drive around Colorado. So
Yeah.
Nice.
4x4, I think it's just because I moved to Colorado. Honestly, I don't think I would really have an authentic interest in like driving Jeeps and stuff, but going to Moab and seeing what you can do, and then now exploring some of the trails around Colorado, it's just really fun. I'll put behind me, I have a pretty cool car now.
Oh, wow. An international?
That's a 1969 Jeep Gladiator. And so I swapped it, put new Super Duty axles under it from a 2008 F-250. And basically everything else I just build by hand. I'm pretty crafty when it comes to metal work. So I did that.
That's amazing.
That's super rad.
It's really cool. It's I got that. That's got its own story. I mean, I bought it up in Wyoming for $2,000 with a literal blown engine. It had a rod through the side of the block. It was kind of awesome how destroyed it was.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I'm gonna LS swap something. I might as well get something that already has a blown motor, so I don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was a fun project.
So what engine you have an LS in that?
Yeah. So that's got a 5.3 liter iron block. I could say LS. It's really just the LS template, but it's an iron block truck motor.
Okay.
Yeah.
True LS aficionados would probably spit at me.
Whatever. We're not pedantic here.
No.
LS.
And then other cars I've been into. This is my little Subaru, and this is the Aurora Fairgrounds and a rallycross race.
Nice.
And then this is, I think, that's Pikes Peak International.
Yeah. Nice. Time attack down there. Yeah.
Yeah, this car basically just has 4 sets of wheels and STI suspension and bushings. So it's a pretty affordable car to race in that regard. And it's been a lot of fun. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
super
so
cool.
great. Yeah.
So where do you do autocar? Do you do it mostly like down at Pikes Peak? Do you do the time attack down there, or do you ever get out to like?
I haven't gotten to do the true time attack yet. I've done just the autocross solo series, and so
with NASA or SCCA or something, or
SCCA, yeah.
SCCA, okay.
I guess it's SCCA, not solo or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd like to one day maybe do the like PMI track series down there where you just pay and drive, a few, 30-minute sessions.
I know. I really want to do that too. We have a friend who keeps telling us that how great that is, and we haven't made it down there yet. But yeah, Dave does autocross. He autocrosses with the BMW club. He has a cool Fiat 500 at Barth that he autocrosses.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I love it. Compact cars, man. What is the Mini, the John Cooper? Is it?
Yeah, JCW. Yeah.
It's so competitive. It's awesome.
Yeah. Small cars, like budget cars. I bought the Abarth with a blown engine, same thing. Like just budget fun, man. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so great. Yeah. I love that because like my favorite cars that I see at events are like the ones with like zip ties in the bumpers and like it is just utilitarian. Like it's not precious, but it's not like disposable, right? There's like a utilitarianness to it.
It's fun in those classes too, because like I've really found the limit of the GD chassis that I race versus the more desirable GC chassis in terms of weight, because like how they bracket in autocross is really competitive. And if you're 400 pounds heavier than the next car, you're going to find out after you figure out the track.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Nice, man.
Pretty entertaining series.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. So, go ahead, Ian. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what do we do? Are we ready to play some games maybe?
Yeah. Have you seen any of our license plate games? And do you have a history with vanity plates?
Oh yeah, there we go.
I know a few vanity plates. I know a few, I'm an engine nerd. So I actually looked up a list of do not fly vanity plates before and figured out all the potential combinations of plates that you could have in Colorado based on 2 6-digit sets.
Okay.
So that's how I learned a little bit more about what vanity plates you could have and don't have. And every year, I don't know who it is, but they publish it might be California. It's new vanity plates added to the not permitted list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's a multi-state task force or something, and it's people from DMVs from all around the country and sheriff's departments and so this really weird thing, and they come up with this big list of plates that are it's almost like the that jokey Rolling Stone article from 30 years ago where it was are your kids saying this? This is what it really means. It has that sort of vibe to it. Yeah.
Right.
The kids are getting into weird stuff now. But anyway,
LTTC or something like that.
Right. Weird stuff. So we on this game on this show we play a game with license plates, and it's Highlights Magazine. So we're going to show you 3 cars with their license plates blacked out, and then you're going to get 3 license plate texts, and you have to match the text of the license plate to the car.
Okay.
So this really helps to really generalize people and go. Stereotypes usually are your friend on this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be interesting. And do you want to start with mine, Dave?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So I have a Subaru themed one. So people send us so many license plates, and I live in Colorado, so I see a lot of Subarus. And so this one is all Subarus.
All right, here we go. There we go. There are. Yeah. Do you want to walk us through it, Ian?
And Dave, yeah. So Dave has not seen this either. So you two are playing together.
Yeah.
Okay. So up top,
did you lock in an answer already?
I got it. It's locked in.
Okay.
I'll describe for the audio listeners. So up top, we've got a white WRX with a
carbon fiber
hood, carbon fiber-ish hood,
yeah.
Or trunk. Sorry. So it's white with a black trunk. We've got just it's kind of standard WRX in whatever gray that is, whatever silver that is, in the middle, kind of a current gen one. And then on the bottom, we've got a Subaru Crosstrek.
Yeah.
In a neon green.
Yeah. I like that green on the Crosstrek. Yeah.
It's a really cool color.
Yeah. Right. So then the plates are Mountain Rew, MTNREW, My WRX, MYWRX, and then Slow WRX. Okay. And Steve's nodding along. He's going to be yeah, that's Brian's car, that's Tom's car, and that's Gina's car. Yeah. Yeah. So walk us through the instant calculations you made on these, Steve.
Well, the middle one's very sensible, and it's probably the person's first WRX, so they have to be my WRX.
Okay.
The top one, mostly cosmetic mods. I don't know. It might be an NVIDIA exhaust. They probably did a cheap chip tune, so that's definitely Slow WRX because, they think it's fast, but they want to make, a parody out of that and say it's slow.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bottom one just came to me, but the first thing is it's a Crosstrek, so it's probably a person's vehicle that they feel like they can drive into the mountains with. So that would be Mountain Rew. But it's green, and Mountain Dew is green, so Mountain Rew.
There we go. I was wondering if they were a chef and they loved making roux. Yeah. I like a sauce base, and I'm not ashamed of it. Yeah.
Dave, do you have any notes on that? You want to change any of those?
When I saw the top one there with the carbon fiber trunk, I instantly associated that to slow WRX, right? The thing that I get, because I think we got to go slow WRX on the top. It's amazing to me that somebody with like that middle WRX, that's more sensible one, that they got that vanity plate in Colorado that says my WRX. Did they get that before the WRX even came over, and they had it on like a 2.5 RS beforehand just to park it, just like Ian buys domain names just on a whim?
I think this is like a Highlander situation where they had to kill somebody and there can only be one.
Yeah. There's a trail of coolant and head gaskets from WRXs that they've murdered before. Yeah. But and I agree with you on the Mountain Roo. But so I think we're in line here, Steve. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, you guys smashed it.
Yeah.
You got all of them correct.
Every single one.
Yeah.
I like how, Steve, you were just bam, got it. Yeah. Nice. That's fantastic.
I love to make memes of like, at certain ski areas years ago put up sign that said no vaping or something like that. No, I just photoshopped it to say no WRX owners.
Nice.
It's very true. It's very true.
Yeah. So I have a non-Subaru one. This one is just called No. So Ian hasn't seen this one, so you guys get to do the buddy system on that one. So here you go. This one's wild. So up top we have a Toyota Matrix in that baby bluish. Yeah. We have a black Kia Stinger GT all-wheel drive in the middle. And then at the bottom we have a Toyota Taco Tacoma, the RS5 option package with the V6, the classic, and the roll bar, the chrome roll bar, like they were Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. Yeah.
Oh man, there is a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. So do you want to read the plates?
Yeah,
I'm trying to see the stickers on the back of the windows.
Oh, we're going to zoom and enhance. Yeah.
Okay. We will Super Troopers enhance.
Yeah.
All right. So the license plates are no clowns, no vows, and no regret. No regret.
I'm on board with the no clowns. I'm not a fan. So, this person
that's true.
Might get along. So, yeah.
No vows. Oh my God.
Per your request, Steve, let's do some zooms and enhances. All right. Yeah. We're in on the Toyota Matrix. Yeah, we're in.
What is happening?
We have an in memoriam cross sticker up in the upper left. It says "in loving memory." We have a chaos and kindness, or chaos and something. Oh no, that's not one of those. Not all who wander are lost. But it says something about wandering on it. And there's a sunflower. Maybe they're from Kansas.
That plate looks like New Hampshire.
It is a New Hampshire plate. Yep.
Good catch.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. That is a
really
really
easy to do though, like Vermont would be. So it doesn't really help too much.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, I've ruled one out for that one. I don't know if you're on the same page as me on that, but let's go to the next one, because I've noticed at least one context clue on the Stinger. Which is that the chain link license plate frame.
Very, very metal.
Which is a choice.
Yeah.
Not much else though, besides the fact that they bought a Stinger.
Yeah. Is that Illinois? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And then lastly, we got to get into some stuff on the Toyota here. There is the devil horns skeleton.
Yep.
A Punisher sticker with a cowboy hat.
Oh God, the Punisher on the
on the taillights.
Brake lights. Jesus.
And then a barbed wire with little skulls license plate frame. So,
Okay. Wow.
there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have it locked in. I'm not happy though because the order seems too logical.
I'm curious to hear your reasoning. I'll go first because I'm less sure. My first thought was that No Vows is not on the Matrix. I don't know why. I just got that vibe. Like that's not somebody who's eschewing all relationships. I think maybe No Vows is the Stinger because there is no more divorced car than the Kia Stinger, perhaps. Right?
Yeah, that's the main clue of the Stinger. It's like a car that's way too heavy to really enjoy, but it's got power, so you can enjoy it.
Right. You still have to have the kids on the weekends, but now I have a sports car, and I'm gonna tell the world that I'm divorced.
And I'm buying a chain license plate at AutoZone.
Yes, I'm locked in on No Vows on the Stinger. I think. Then it's the other two. I think maybe No Regret on the Tacoma, No Clowns. I think it's in order. What do you think?
That's what I thought. And I'm like, I really would want them to be out of order, so I'm matching. But no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would either of you like to change your answer?
I don't. I'm satisfied. What about you?
Would be No Clowns on the Toyota and No Regret. Well, they're both Toyotas. No Clowns on the Tacoma, No Regret on the Matrix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only thing I could think of changing.
Okay. All right. Well, I have less good news for you. No Regret on the Matrix, No Clowns on the Kia, and No Vows on the Toyota Tacoma pick-em-up truck with the Punisher Girl cowboy hat stickers. Yeah.
Wow.
Busted.
Right? Yeah. I'd like to thank Brian for sending in the Toyota Matrix, Eric for sending in the Stinger. That one's been in the hopper for a long time, so thank you, Eric. And then Jesse for the spot of the No Vows pick-em-up truck. Yeah.
Man, all of these people are fascinating to me.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times, like we get these, and I'm like, well, this is the person that I never need to talk to. I'm very curious about all these people.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do like a song at the Thin Man, right? Like in conversation with them before rolling on to the next person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed dating sort of situation. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good job, everyone. Yeah. Thanks for talking about weirdos on the internet with us.
I'll have to send in a few that I've taken over the years.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So if you have vanity plates, you can text them to 720-515-1391. That's the Apex Adjacent vanity plate /crisis helpline. We don't answer it, so you're not going to get help. But maybe talking something out loud to yourself will help. But yeah, you can text plates to that number or email them apexadjacent@gmail.com or Twitter DM them to us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But yeah.
Steve, Dave, I think we did a car show. Anything you want to say at the end? Is there any you want to plug anything like social media or anything like that? Whatever you want.
I've been kind of heads down recently on other projects. I haven't been too active on social media. Just to tell the end of the story, I cleaned it up.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got to close the loop on this thing.
Oh, we didn't. Sorry.
I took dramatic glam shots at the local park and ride, and
yes, look at that.
It cleaned up really well. Inside the car was a box with stuff that I wasn't sure what to do with when I bought it, and I didn't have really a lot of time to figure out and do an inventory of what it was. But when I got home, it was spray wax and tire shine. What else do you need to sell a car?
Right.
That's amazing.
So I vacuumed it out. I did a little simple green detailing of the headliner to kind of get rid of some of the, years of dust and stuff like that. and then I just cleaned the outside. And the only thing I really bought for it was a new key fob, since it didn't have its key fob, and hubcaps because it was missing one. And you can't just buy one hubcap. I mean, they don't sell them anymore. And the price of one hubcap from OEM would exceed an Amazon pack of 4. So, yeah, it sold in like 5 hours, I think, like that.
Amazing.
I listed it for like $4,200, and the new owner negotiated down to 36, and I was like, sold.
That's amazing. You can always tell, like, that's one of those like used car things, like how, like the condition of the car by what's in the trunk when you go to look at it, right?
Yeah.
And if all you had was tire shine and spray wax and not coolant, oil, power steering fluid, any like, you know, a giant first aid kit, you know, you're doing okay.
A shovel and duct tape.
It came with a snow scraper that like the head had come loose from the shaft, so I just put a screw back in it and, you know, put it in the ad. Comes with snow scraper.
That's amazing. That's so
you need
great.
a snow scraper out here, so it was perfect.
Now, and I really appreciate you like closing the loop on this. So you mentioned like giving some money back from the sale to the owner, the original owner. Yeah.
What happened after I sold it was a lot more than I ever would have expected. My wife works with a lot of people in the hospital, and one of them happened to work with a local news agency. I think it's the CBS 4, I think is who came by. But when we drove back, we got back, and she went back to work like the first of the new year and saw this person that she's working with in therapy. And of course, the question is, how was your holiday? And so she basically tells this crazy story of us driving across the country. And like Southwest meltdown was kind of in the news. And so they basically just earmarked it and said, wow, that's a crazy story. And so when we sold it, a week later, she told that to the person as well. And they're like, oh my gosh. And then Southwest at the time had been taking submittals for refunds on like damages associated with the travel meltdown. A lot of people were getting refunds for rental cars, hotels, and reading some of the headlines, it's like they're asking for like $2,500 to $5,000. So I'm like, I'm gonna, see if they'll refund me for $500. I mean, I have a pretty good story here. I can at least type it out for them and tell them what happened. And it was a cash transaction, so it's not like I have a receipt, but hopefully they'll believe it. It's only $500, right?
Yeah, you're not saying like 60 grand. Yeah.
A week later, I get confirmation that they accepted it and deposited a refund. They actually sent it via Venmo. It was kind of funny. But that story was the nail, and it was awkward, honestly, to have like Southwest LLC or something like that.
Yeah.
I hope this is legit. That story really put the nail in the coffin. And I guess when that person went back and told a lot of the people that they work with, they're like, we need to get you on the news. Like, this is too good. Because they, on a weekly basis, were covering people and families affected by the meltdown. One thing leads to another, that they come by with a camera and a news truck, and I'm on the nightly news.
Yeah.
The trickle-down effect from that was, larger and larger media companies picking it up. And it culminated with the CEO of Southwest using it as like part of a keynote speech to investors when they were asked about, what are you going to do to essentially polish your image? And they went through, we're going to make everything better, but they also went through, a questioning round of how are you handling reimbursements? And one of the things, I think it's Bob Jordan, I think is the current CEO there, but he was like, well, I think we're doing pretty well. We even had a couple that had to buy a car and drive it across the country for $500. So we basically bought them a car.
That's nice. I mean, the way that I like to think about this is as someone who has done a large portion of that drive several times, you rightfully got paid to drive across the Midwest.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you are owed driving reparations.
Everything up to St. Louis is kind of entertaining, but once you get past St. Louis and you get into the real flat states, it's like, come on, can I go faster?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kansas Highway Patrol doesn't miss. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I got that $500 back, one of my goals that I had talked with my wife about once we made it past Pittsburgh, because from Philly to Pittsburgh, you climb quite a few feet, and it's hills and sustained hills, almost like we have out in Colorado. Maybe not quite the elevation game, but it's hell on cars. So once the Subaru made it to Pittsburgh and we're like cresting to get on I-70 there, I told my wife, I'm like, we need to give this owner back some money. Like, you know, this car is a lot better than $500. So
Yeah.
I gave the owner back some of the money from Southwest at that point, and I gave him some extra money along the way, just as kind of like, hey, I know you need this more than I do at this time, so here you go. Like,
That's so great.
I can help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Such a fun story.
Right. That's so great, Steve. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, you know, I wanted to make good on that, and that's really the rest of it's fun because I like cars. I like cars even if they break down, because then there's a challenge to figure out why they broke down. And you know, I didn't worry about the drive. I knew the drive was going to be fun. If it broke down, it would just be another part of the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But being able to give back to him was like this little goal I had in the back of my head that, you know, I wanted it to be more than just a car trip. So it kind of made it all worth it in the end.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, there's many times where we run across excellent examples in the car community, the car enthusiast community, of like the things that like people don't typically see about the car enthusiast community. Right. And like stories like yours, like it's great when they break through. Right. Like I think of our buddy Kevin, that was informing people of the Hyundai engine recalls,
right.
you know, for cars that they, you know, that they were down on their luck, they had to sell, right? Like those kinds of stories that like are such great examples of like the heart that is in the automotive enthusiast community. And it's really great to see that. And we're very thankful to be able to talk to you and see what you've done with that, you know? Yeah.
I see it in all facets. I mean, there's like a, you know, just a brotherhood or a family in every facet. It's really awesome. Racing really brings a lot of like-minded people together too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. People helping each other out in the paddock, and, you know, kind of a similar vibe to what went on here. So
yeah, right.
Definitely recognize that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. And yeah, you did have a shout out you wanted to give before we wrapped.
So this whole, you know, as I said earlier, like this was kind of like it started with a bunch of text back and forth. But I mean, the core of the story is when you buy a car, you need somebody usually or a car service to drive you there to pick it up, because you're buying a car that you don't have to get somewhere. So after texting with my buddies, I had a local buddy, Nate, and without Nate's help, honestly, none of this would have been possible. He drove me to check out the car. He drove us around while we were working with the original owner to transfer the title. He helped check out some stuff with me while, you know, I had like 30 minutes to do a vital check on the car. So just want to say thanks, Nate, for being available there.
And plus, he was going to be your fall guy if you broke down in Kansas.
Yeah, exactly.
Your wife,
like,
so
I don't care what happens here. Even if we don't buy a car, this will be a fun trip.
Yeah. Right?
It was Nate's idea.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks again, man, for coming on. This was a blast.
Guys.
I hope we end up seeing you out at High Plains or at the racetrack or at autocross or something. I'm sure we'll cross paths again, maybe the go-kart track. So yeah, everybody go check out we'll put a link to the news story in the description so you can see that. Dave, if people enjoyed this, what should they do?
Definitely subscribe on YouTube and send us vanity plates, 720-515-1391. If they want to, they could sign up for our Patreon. You don't need to. I tell you what you get when you sign up right in the description of it, so you could just copy and paste from there. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Steve, thank you again.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Everybody else, thank you. We love you. Goodbye.